Yes, Todd.
The professor is with us.
All right. Dr. Tom Smith, BYU Professor of Wildlife Sciences. Doc, thank you for helping us. I may have misspoke yesterday of what you do when you encounter a bear. So if you could give us sort of what the philosophy is and maybe how it's changed over the years of what you do when you encounter a bear.
Yeah, thank you for having me. My pleasure. Well, the main thing I like to emphasize to people is number one, and this is before any of the advice on how to deal with a bear one-on-one, is you really have no business in bear country without some way of dealing with them, meaning that you need to have bear spray or a firearm or some kind of deterrent, because if you have a bear that's determined to cause you harm, you've got to be able to tell it no. Just one-on-one, that's not going to happen. So when we see the kind of desperate things people do, such as run from bears, climb trees, or even lay down and play dead, that's almost always because they don't have any option for dealing with the bear other than that.
Okay.
So number one, I wouldn't go in bear country. I've been in there for 30 some years. I've dealt with thousands of bears. I just don't give that option up to bears, that if one of them gets menacingly aggressive, I've got to be able to stop it. So that's number one. Number two, the simplest thing you can do, which is without any deterrence, just in the case you don't have them, is hike with buddies, like 2 or more people. Yellowstone Park says at least 3. My data from North America say you're pretty safe with 2, but
that means you just have to be able to outrun one of the 2 other guys with you, is what you're saying, Doc.
Or use your underpowered gun to shoot one of them in the leg and then run.
Okay, but I was fishing in Montana, and they have bears there. So,
they do.
Yeah. So if I encountered a brown bear or a black bear, is there a difference in what I'm supposed to do?
Well, certainly. So let's say after all you've done, you're with your friends, you're fishing along a river, but you're scattered out a little bit. And all of a sudden here comes a brown bear or a black bear. Number one thing, again, is to ready your deterrent, get your bear spray off your hip, and then I would start backing away from the bear, get away from it, give it some space. In many, many instances, the bear's just trying to go somewhere and you're in its way. So get out of its way and then continue to move. Don't run, but don't just stand there. And the reason why I say never stand there is because, let's say on another occasion, you round a corner, you get your rod out, you're fly fishing. You don't know that there's not a bison carcass in that creek and the bear's on it. You don't know that there's not 2 cubs hiding up in the brush. You standing there saying, hey bear, don't hurt me, or something like that. That just aggravates it. You need to get away from it. So get away from the bear, but do it in a determined manner, but not with speed.
Which one climbs a tree, Doc?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've seen brown bears up to 30, 40 feet in a tree. So that strategy is a really bad one. I looked at, I looked at about 150 tree climbers, and we can lay it to rest that trying to outclimb Olympic tree climbers is probably a bad strategy for you and your waders with a fishing rod.
Can I yell at them?
Oh, you certainly can, and that will most times precipitate a charge and then an attack. So I wouldn't do that.
Can I? Oh, no, that they will attack me if I yell at them?
Yeah, that sort of sharp startle can trigger that kind of response. Right?
I had an experience with the Coyote bear. Are you familiar with the spirit bear?
Yes.
And he was about 10 to 15 feet away from me accidentally.
Yeah.
But he was interested in the salmon that were spawning. I was in British Columbia, and he just looked at me. Now, if he wanted to kill me, he could have. But he just looked, and I think he was curious. But he might have recognized me as being on TV and being in Adam Sandler movies, Doc. But he decided he was going to go eat the salmon, so he didn't care. He had other things on his mind.
I think something about this is important, and people have a hard time wrapping their mind around it. Animals like bears, and you were talking about wolves earlier, they're real narrow in their focus on what they eat, and the humans typically are not part of that. So they see you and they're kind of surprised and they're trying to size things up. That's a good time just to move on. back to your question on black and brown. So a black bear should never approach you. And when you show some aggressive behavior to it, hopefully with some friends, it should run. If it doesn't run, now you've got a problem. Should I say you've got a problem?
What is the most dangerous experience you've ever encountered?
Sitting in a helicopter with 2 tranquilized bears that were waking up, and the pilot couldn't find a place to land. And I said to him, these 2 are going parachuting with no parachute in about 1 minute because they were coming out of the drug. So that was not cool. Also, one other one, I chased a bear into the woods. I don't know. I was junior team member, and they said, go after that one. It was a young bear. And I went after it, and it was probably 300 or 400 pounds. And when I got in there, I realized, that's really still a very big animal. So that was a stupid thing to do. I don't know what they thought I was going to do, is run it back to them. They had guns. They were going to tranquilize it. But I won't do that again.
Well, it's great to talk to you. Thanks for thanks for enlightening us on what to do when we encounter a bear. Next time that I encounter a bear, maybe I'll just call you when I've encountered the bear, and then you could probably, help me put it on speakerphone, and then you could guide me to safety.
My line's always open, or else the backup is I'll read about you in the newspaper.
Thank you, Doc. I appreciate that.
Put it in the database.
Yes, all right. Maybe you could speak, at my funeral. He is Dr. Tom Smith, BYU Professor of Wildlife Sciences. Thank you, Doc. Thanks for joining us. All right, there we go. Yes, Eaton.
So I think if I could give the Cliff's Notes version of it, what we learned about how to handle a bear encounter is don't put yourself in that position in the first place. It's sort of what it sounds like.
Yeah.